you do not talk so much about pragmatic, what you call pragmatic goals, as that it cannot be done. We cannot live as we do. It's against my deepest concern for myself as well as for nature itself. And these supporters then have a job to do together with others, which we call then mostly the reformist people, who say this is what's going on in order to overcome the crisis has to do with practical things, technology and other things, and you need not go back to your own philosophy or your own religion. That's unnecessary. So it is, those who go all the way back to what I call the ultimate premises, they are generally in favor of very harsh policies that seem to make a lot of trouble for you, but they say, if it's necessary, no car. If it's necessary, I will not go by airplane in my vacations. I will not so and so, and I need no such and such project which require a lot of energy or to be made. So it flows from their inclination to live in a way that is universalizable.
Deep long-range ecology movement, deconstructing those phrases, first of all, it is a movement. It is a social movement. It is not an ideology. It is not a specific church. It's not a specific religion. It is a social movement. Social meaning people working together in community. It is based upon ecology, the relationship between organisms and their habitat. It is long range because it does not attempt in this movement to discount the future, but to take in account potentialities and possibilities of evolution of the system. And it is deep in that it encourages participants to ask questions of why. Most importantly, why am I here? What is meaning? So the movement, Deep Long-Range Ecology Movement, is, if we're basically a search for meaning in a world of fact.
Another word that we use for shallow environmentalism is reform environmentalism. Instead of a radical change in society, they're merely trying to reform society ecologically. I think sustainable development, the concept of sustainable development, is a good example of what we would call shallow environmentalism, because the idea is that the development won't stop. We're going to continue to develop. We just want to develop sustainably or ecologically. Now, as long as you've got this tremendous society that's causing so much ecological problem, you've got to have the reform environmentalists. You've got to pass the laws. You've got to take steps. And without the shallow environmentalists, I think we would have lost just about everything by now. So we're very indebted to this type of work that the reform environmentalists are doing. It's absolutely crucial. The deep ecology point is that it's not enough. We've got to go beyond that and start making fundamental changes in society.
To me, the essence of deep ecology is moving beyond a type of environmentalism which is still based on a highly reductionist and a highly distant approach to the living world, to the natural world. To me, the essence of deep ecology is an expression of the need to develop our deep spiritual and both spiritual, intellectual, and physical connection to the living world around us, to the cosmos. That's for me the essence of deep ecology.
Næss would say that people who are working in what's now referred to as the reform environmental approach, Næss would say we all should work together and collaborate, and we should encourage people who are working from what people refer to now as a more reform-based approach to be looking at more fundamental questions. That when one decides that, say, recycling or energy efficiency improvements or certain improvements with respect to farming are enough, they may not be enough, because even organic farming could encroach upon wilderness areas. Or when you're recycling, you're actually, taking a consumer-based product and then trying to reuse certain elements. But maybe it makes sense to not even think about using that product in the first place. So Næss would always argue that we need to engage more fully in terms of questioning all of our actions in life from this deep questioning perspective.
The relation between ecology and philosophy has to do also with this concept of spontaneous experience, because people would, for instance, say, we make a road now through this forest, and it's through the center of the forest, but the square meters of this road is tremendously small, the square meters of it. But then I would say it goes through the heart of this forest. And this is the heart of the forest. That's nonsense. We have a road here, and it's so small part of the forest that it makes no difference. So the spontaneous experience, when you get into the forest deeper and deeper, you have this feeling of being deep in the forest. And if you then hit the road, this completely disappear. And then people say, well, that's your imagination. You see the heart, there's no heart here. But if you start this way and saying there's no heart, it's just at certain distances, you get into a worldview which resembles that of Immanuel Kant, the great philosopher, where you end up saying the nature is without colors, even without shapes, and even without cause and effect, because relation of cause and effect is something created by humans. So there's nothing there. In short, there is nothing in nature in itself. You have no access to nature in itself. You see, you end up in complete nonsense. And that's what many people do who are in philosophy. Even in contemporary so-called postmodernism, nature is something, only a limiting thing which you never can really see or appreciate. You appreciate only your own ways of thinking and feeling. And you are completely determined by your culture and so on. So this protection of nature is a sham, in a sense, that there is something there, but you don't have any access to it. So it's undermining, for some people, the belief in protection of nature as a vast undertaking for the next century.
One of the main messages that the ecological perspective brought to us in the 1960s was that we have to, we see the landscape, the animals, humans, everything as interrelatedness, as interrelated. There's been a tendency in Western culture to see things as isolated entities. This person, this rock, they're all separate. Eastern thought has Zen Buddhism and so on. One of the legacies of Zen Buddhism when it was introduced into America was to see things in terms of process and interrelatedness. So the Deep Ecology Movement is, you can't just focus on protecting the panda or the elephant over here, the Siberian tiger, or this particular type of endangered flower, because the whole thing is interrelated. You have to look at ecosystems, and we're trying to protect ecosystems and landscapes